Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer, and this is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Meditation and Book Discussion Group. Tonight, we're discussing Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Chapter 6, Three Brains, Thinking to Doing to Being. All the times that I've learned and studied and things like that, it never occurred to me to consider us to have three brains in our cranium, but they're unique in themselves. They really are. There's just to get the conversation started. There's the cortex, that's that walnut looking thing on the top. There's the limbic brain, that's the stem coming up your spine and comes up like a little fist, and it has a group of six little micro organs: the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the magig, all those other kind of things. And in the back of it is the pineal gland. And then back here is a cluster, the cerebellum. We're going to be talking about all three of those. The intention behind part two is simply put to provide pertinent information about the brain so that when you, as an operator, begin to use the meditative process to change your life, you will know what needs to happen in your brain and in your meditations and why. This isn't woo-woo. This is a human process. There's not one of you who can't do this. It is a learning process, and some of you have more resistive programs than others. Some of you may have been meditating for years, and this will be just walking into a familiar room. We're all different. I recognize that. I've met people that sat down and went, oh, and they fall through the door like as if, and you go, how'd you do that? It was so hard for me. Well, yeah, I just did what he said. Yeah, I've met people like that, and you just look at them like, how'd you do that? Just and Sharon, thank you for coming. Um, yeah, so there's people on all levels on this journey. So I'll start the discussion really on page 124. Change entails new ways of thinking, doing, and being. You've heard us talk about for the last few weeks. New ideas gives you new choices is actions, new actions gives you new chemistry. Without new information, you're just choosing behavior from the buffet of everything you've already done, and probably you'll get the same results. It's important that you recognize this first step is learning and thinking on that new information. If you've got a resistance to learning new things, studying, you've built a roadblock in your own mind. So the first step is to give yourself permission to learn something new. If you know how to drive a car, then you already experienced probably the most elementary example of thinking, doing, and being. At first, you learn how to drive, then you work at driving, then you get in a car and just kind of go down the highway, thinking, doing, being, right? But did you know that you can also go directly from thinking to being? That is the goal of meditation, where you sit in meditation and you rehearse the future that you're trying to build. That's the simplified principle to make this work. It takes practice. Why does it take practice? Well, because what goes on up here is different from what goes on down here. It's a different process. That's new information for me when I was started doing this. I always wonder if I learned it, how come I can't make myself do it? Because I hadn't recognized that this has a very long, tenacious memory. And if I have lived in a habit pattern, it doesn't want to break that pattern. It has to be trained into a new pattern. That is not unique. That doesn't make you crazy or stubborn. That makes you human. Now, some of you have a lifestyle where you can just move from one pattern to another, and that's fine. Some of you had a little bit of me in you, and you were hard trained into a certain pattern, and it was a survival tool. That's why it's there. And you come in to do this, and that survival tool says, wait a minute, the world is dangerous. We got to keep doing this. And it was a very big challenge for me to teach my body the world is not dangerous everywhere. When I sit in this chair, the world is not dangerous. I can be at peace. Some of you may have a little bit of that in you. And I sure respect the challenge that you face. But it's still, the principle is the same. The new information drives in a new response in the body, and that new response has to be rehearsed to break the pattern of survival that you taught it. Not wrong. You probably had a really good reason to teach that at that time. Now we're teaching it something new. You with me on that? In creating a new habit of being ourselves, we are essentially taking conscious control over what has become an unconscious process of being. That's what I'm talking about. We have this survival programming in us for a reason. Most likely it was a good reason at that time. We just didn't learn to let go of it. And if we even learned that we wanted to, we didn't know how and why it was so hard. We want to unify the mind's intent with the body's responses. That's a simple statement. And I sure recognize it's a challenge. To do this, we must create a new way of thinking, a new way of doing, and a new way of being. Once again, if you're using the old information of your life, then your thinking isn't a new way of thinking. Given that to change our lives, we first must change our thoughts. That's information. And feelings. That's the response to that information. Then do something different that changes what happens in our bodies. To have a new experience, which in turn produces new feelings. And then we must memorize those new feelings. And we start and do it all sitting in our chair. I know the world is adversarial. I walked it. You don't have to, but no, I know it. And there are places in this world that are highly dangerous, really. But is it dangerous sitting in your chair? That's where you begin to create your new life. That's what I'm talking about. I know some jobs are really challenging. Not everybody sells flowers. Pardon me, I didn't mean it sounded like an insult. It didn't wasn't. It was just like some people just have lives that just seem to be blessed. Beautiful. You got something right in your life. Some of us came into this life in chaos, grew up in chaos, and never learned how to get out of it. That's what we're learning here. That's what we're becoming aware of, that you are going to learn. You have a choice, but it takes work, takes practice. Okay. On page 126 is the graph figure 6A. It shows the image of the three brains. The walnut is the neocortex. The top of the stem is the limbic chemical brain. And that ball in the back of the head is the cerebellum. The cerebellum is the seat of old subconscious memories. It's a very complex, very dense neural network. From thinking to doing, the neocortex processes knowledge, then prompts us to live what we have learned. Our thinking brain is the neocortex, the brain's walnut-like outer covering. In general, the neocortex processes knowledge and experiences. First, you gather knowledge in the form of facts or semantic information, prompting the neocortex to add new synapses. The neocortex, uh, the neocortex processes your sensory input. What does it mean when you hear this? What does it mean when you see this? What does it mean when something about you happens? That's the neocortex processing knowledge. In that processing knowledge, that energy hits the body and the body gives chemicals. Knowledge is for the mind, the neural network in action of the cortex. To put it simply, knowledge is the precursor to experience. The first thing you do is have a sensory input to your environment. That is a knowledge point. That's where it begins. Something came through, became a knowledge point in your head, and you respond and you remember. You remember it in your cortex and you remember it in your body. The limbic brain, also known as mammalian brain, located under the cortex, is the most highly developed and specialized area of the brain in mammals. So it's a mammalian thing. Just think of the limbic brain as the chemical brain. The limbic brain rules the chemical signals to the body. The chemical cocktail has a specific signature that reflects emotions you are experiencing in the moment. As you now know, emotions are the end product of an experience. Let me talk about emotions for a minute. Uh, People confuse. I've talked to a number of people where they're trying to meditate into a emotion. And I tell them, don't meditate into an emotion. But it says the emotions are the target. I want to be happy, so I'm going to meditate into happiness. I want joy, so I'm going to meditate into joy. Well, that's only half of what the teaching is about, that targeted teaching. If emotions are the end goal, what gives you that joy? What gives you that happiness? Where does it come from? The reason why this is important, because my history of learning hypnosis is that you can tell your body to give chemical feelings to almost anything from terror to joy. And 5 minutes later, they step out of that state and they're back to what they were moments before. That's what happens when you target the emotion. Remember, the emotion is the chemical expression of the body. If you target that in your meditation, you're telling your body, release this flush of chemicals. And your body releases that flush of chemicals. You go, oh, I'm happy. Yeah, my meditation worked. And 15 minutes after you get out of your chair, you're back to the same person. Why? Because you didn't change. You told your body to release a certain chemical flush and it cooperated. It did. Emotions is the end of the experience. You with that? So as you learn to meditate, think about the experience you want, but don't make it the trigger. Think about what brings me joy. What brings me that satisfaction in my life that makes me get up in the morning and say, I'll do this. I'll do this hard thing today because that is my purpose. A mom knows that one real easy. Why does a mom go through the incredible journey of raising kids? And there is no harder job that is more thankless than a mother, I think. Oh my goodness. She gets up and she works and she takes care of the children. She changes diapers and feeds them. She's in the kitchen and she feeds them and takes them. And her, and the kids are just screaming, fighting. And why? You know, from a guy who come from outside and learned to love. It's because of this. Because it's not the emotion of the moment. Because mothers intuitively know what they're after. They're after that work that will bring it in their children and that they'll see it and they'll soar. That's why. Hello, Zoom. I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi Ray, this is Moshida again. Uh,
Hello.
yeah, hi. So you were just talking about the mothers, like what's the purpose and things like that. So I wanted to ask you, like for example, as a mother, as a mother of a child with autism, my daughter has autism. What I feel sometimes is that I have that reward throughout the day, right? So I have maybe 50 goals. I organize 50 goals in my head that, okay, I'm going to try this, in between this, right? So at the end of the day, my child does respond positively with maybe 5 goals, right? So the rest of the 45 goals, those are still, and it's ongoing. So maybe in few weeks, I add 30 more goals, right? Those are small goals. So the reward or the thing that you were saying, the experience, the joy, um, that comes almost equally from my trying when I can remember to actively targeting the goal. That also gives me some satisfaction, and not some satisfaction. I feel really good when I can really focus on her, right? When I
Yes.
can actually serve her, be useful to her. And I
Yes.
also feel good when she is responding positively, that I can see that, yes, she learned it, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, what happens is that it gives me a lot of hope and it also gives me a lot of sadness that I have million other things to do. When am I going to do that?
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, oh my God, I these 5 goals, these are very, very tiny goals. Even though like right after she learns that, I have a dissatisfaction too. I'm
Yes.
like, when am I gonna do the all these million billions other things? How am I gonna teach her that? So this struggle is almost like every moment
Yes.
throughout the 24 hour. So
And I
how
like
do
how
I,
you said it. It was
yeah,
you want you got joy from the work that you did with your child. The joy did not come first. It came from the work you did. That's exactly my point. You said it exactly like I was trying to say, and your example is correct. You don't sit and say, I want joy, I want joy. You give your heart and your work and your time to your child. And in that work, you find your joy.
How, like, is this the way? I mean, is this gonna be a part of me says that yes, this is gonna be the way, like I'm gonna, because we reach one goal and then we target another goal. Even so-called we typical people are too, right? We are all like that. So this is kind of, is that the regular, or I'm sometimes I feel like, so I have both energy. I have the positive energy of satisfaction, joy, but at the same time I go into the lack energy uh, through the same experience.
Yeah, I understand that. I've said many times I'm still a guy. I struggle with my survival mind. I've been doing this for 8 years and I still have days when I sit down and I meditate and I'm just here. Yeah. Other times
How
I
do you
sit down.
balance? How,
Other
so how do we find the end of the day balance? Sometimes those
always,
lack or
always,
those pains are bigger.
yeah.
That's
Know
too much to
what
do.
know what you are. Our whole society has taught us in a survival mind. I am here to help you learn what Dr. Joe teaches. You are not the survival being. You are not this human organism. You are an energy being of divine origin and beauty before your wildest imagination. That is why in this meditation, seize yourself out here, because that is the true you that you practice discovering in this meditation we did today. When you start practicing, I am an energy being, I am conscious, and I choose where my consciousness is and how big it is. I choose my consciousness to be here. I choose my consciousness to move my body. I choose to tune into the field. I am not a limited human form. I am my I express my life through this according to the level of my wisdom and skills and stuff, but I am an energy being and I can put it anywhere I choose. Now, that's a braggadocious statement, but it's true. When you learn to do that, then the pain of this life is much less because you recognize this is a mortal life for everybody. But I'm an eternal being, and so are you. Thank you for that. That was a very sensitive call. And
But
who here knows of that series of YouTube channel that talks about the psychic um, children?
oh, you're talking about that, yeah, the telepathic
Yeah, yeah, something like
telepathic
that. Yeah,
something. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, oh, autism tape. Yeah, something about the autism children. Yeah, the
Telepathy
telepathy
tapes.
tapes.
Telepathy tapes. Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, I just want to make sure you were aware of it because uh, the body has a way of making up for anything it lacks. If you're hearing, your eyesight gets better. If you're blind, your perception of space gets better. All these things the body compensates. And it seems that there's a commonality in autism that to make up for their autism, they become more telepathic. And it's not one or two. By the time you're done watching the telepathy tapes, you realize there's a large percentage of autism that are intuitive and they don't know it because they don't know how to express it.
Oh no, yeah, that part is well. My daughter is almost 16, so yes, I see that all the time. That her intelligence, the like you already know, the biggest part of autism is managing the stress,
Yeah.
managing the frustration. Like they are pretty. not all of them equally intelligent, but they have certain level of intelligence, each of them. But
All right.
it's the struggle part. But
Okay.
I need to ask you, so when we're dealing something like that as a mother of child, so it would be also, is it going to be also a good way to perceive the struggle in a positive energy? Like, if I always see that, okay, I have a lot to do, and if I kind of like word that or define that as a struggle or a negative energy, um, I'm unable to actually, I'm struggling. So what I want to know, like, is that okay to kind of like take that as part of my life at this point?
The
Uh,
most important thing,
some
first of all, life is tough. For some people, life can be just a booger bear. What's important is to not hold on to it, not make yesterday rule today. And it's important to teach your child not to carry yesterday into today. Forgive, 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 forgive. Sit there, and if you get a little much with your child, who doesn't? We're all just be sure you find a time soon to heal that emotional bruise. That helps them not get the habit of holding on to things like we were taught. Help them learn to release yesterday by you leading them in
Yes,
forgiveness.
yes. Thank you. That's really a very great reminder. Thank you, Ray. Yeah, like
Yeah,
kind of like going through each all the time, like forgiving
yeah.
and yeah,
I
release.
recognize life is hard. For some people, paying your monthly bills is a challenge, and it creates an emotional stress on the parents that just breaks your heart. And it teaches that to the child just by the environment. So to what the parent can do to help the child in the midst of that stress is to help the child learn to release that, to release it, release it. You lead the release and help them release. Say, yeah, we're having trouble paying the bills and I got upset. I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leon, thank you for being patient. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Ray. I've put a few questions in the chat, and I was wondering if you can spend a few minutes on each one individually.
Says we know we are more than what we see. Even yeah, that's for sure. What we see is just matter to matter. And this is what I'm saying. Uh, People have known from the temple builders that we are more than what we see. The foundations of Scripture says we are an expression of divine. We are an expression of divine. Einstein said that there is only energy, just different frequencies. Newton devised the mathematics of matter to matter effects, but that's only a dimensional thing. There is only energy of different frequencies. That's it. There is not a second option. Energy is an expression of the divine, and that is all everything is. E equals mc squared, m equals E reduced by c squared. So it's just a difference of frequency. So, how do we know? So, practice telling yourself, I am, not I am this. I am consciousness. I am an energy being. I developed an expression that helped deliver me from leukemia. Not even exaggerating. I really did. I was at one time rated as 100% disabled, military related disabled leukemia. And for 5 straight years, my numbers got worse, worse, and I couldn't find it, couldn't find it, couldn't find it. I was talking about the meditation. that I could reach that expression. And when I did, I was well within phase 1 of leukemia, where my blood was starting to show real thickening from the junk in it. I am. I am an energy being. I'm an electrical energy being. I get goosebumps as soon as I start. I am an eternal. I am an electrical energy. I am a luminous electrical energy. I am an eternal luminous electrical energy. I am of the divine, eternal, luminous electrical energy being. I am the son of the Father and heir to the infinite potential. I learned that and learned it not as an affirmation, but as a declaration into myself. And in 6 months, I had another leukemia test, and my benefits went from 100% to zero because I had essentially ended leukemia in my body in that 6 months. Now, I still have trace elements that are above normal blood, but they are just trace. So I can't say I am free of leukemia. It's one of those things that the reminder that it's still there. I don't want to behave myself, fine. So I behave myself and I remind myself I am an energy being. So that is the number one question to everything having to do with this meditation. When you recognize you are not this survival mind doing a focused projection, you are a consciousness moving energy through your body. Leon, did that kind of get to where you were going?
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, I got some other questions too as well in the chat. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to continue. So the limbic brain is the chemical center, chemical cocktail. And it
Uh,
says,
any other
what?
questions?
Okay.
Did you see?
What did you want to ask, Leon?
Okay, I'll read them out. So you talked about changing things, changing input to get different output. Um, trying to feel different by changing what you do. Um, trying to get some more information to have a different outcome. And I can only speak for myself and maybe see it in other people. That sometimes I can't ever seem to get enough information to make a good firm decision. Sometimes there doesn't seem to be um, a good path or a good decision to be made because I don't feel that there's enough information. And so therefore, it feels like it's a chicken and egg thing. I don't have enough information to do something different, or I'm sure what to do because I don't have the information. And I'm not getting any new information because I'm not trying something new because I don't have enough information. So the cycle keeps on repeating itself.
Information has to do with the subject. You cannot meditate yourself into being a better financier. You cannot meditate yourself in being a better salesman. Well, salesman you might. Yeah, there are some things that are hardcore societal education, and meditation isn't doing it. What this level of meditation does, it is to heal and change your heart-mind connection. If you're not at peace, it's a lot harder to learn than if you are at peace and you can focus. If you are distracted by your survival mind, it's a lot harder to do a good job at work and focus on your customer, your service. If you're scattered, if you're paranoid, if you have hate driving you left and right, that is what the kind of healing that this meditation does. That is what I can help lead you if and to talk about the information of which job to do, where to go, and things like that. That is a life by life choice. And as you do this meditation and you heal your heart, you will be surprised at doors that open up to you out of nowhere because your heart was in a position to receive it. It will surprise you. Earlier in this chapter, he talked about uh, his daughter getting a vacation in Italy. A door opened to her. She made the choice of preparing her heart. That's all she did. And then she made the choice to receive it when it was there. The rest of it was heart work. I know life can be complicated. I lived it. I'm an old guy. I've struggled paying my bills. I've lost many jobs because of my attitude and change and simply being in the wrong place. One time I was laid off because I was the best paid guy in the group. So they started at the top of the pay scale and fired me first. I said, wait a minute. I'm paid the most because I'm the best at what I do. He says, yeah. And so you fire me first. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I understood that. Sometimes it's just where you're standing when the sky falls. But what's your heart at? Is your heart in a way that doors open to you?
Yeah,
That's
I saw what you mean by when you just told the story of being maybe the top salesperson in the company, and then based on commissions, the company had to pay you a lot, and so therefore, in order to improve the bottom line, they get rid of the best salesperson. But moving on to the thing I was talking about, some people struggle to, when a lot of the meditations I hear, they say, remember the joyful state that you're in. But sometimes when a person has gone through so much pain and suffering for an extended period of time, the normal baseline is just pure pain and suffering, and they've forgotten completely what it feels like to be in a joyful state. So how do you trigger something that you've forgotten? How do you remember something, a certain state that you've forgotten?
Dr. Joe says people change for one of two reasons: trauma and love of the future self. I had no love of my future self, but I got a trauma that told me I was going to die of cancer. By the time I got off that hill, I had no life, no future. I had lost my health, my strength, my mind, my any finances I had. I had no job, no chance of getting a job, and I couldn't think my way out of a basic puzzle because I was so just dark. I had to create in me a love of my future self. I watched other veterans get healed of cancer, and a couple of years later, the cancer comes back and kills them. Why? Because they did not love a new self. They went back to the old self that gave them the cancer in the first place, and they died the second time. I could see that. I was not going to be the person that gave me the cancer in the first place. And I worked hard to find my way out of it. Eventually, I found Dr. Joe, and I am still here. I was told for 5, 6 years the cancer is going to come back and it's going to kill me. How'd you like to go to a doctor for 6 years and be told you're dead meat, just not this year? That's what I got. Talking about no future. I had to choose, choose. I want that. And Dr. Joe, when I found him, he showed me how to do that. He showed me how to practice letting go of the past. He showed me how to practice loving a future that I was creating in my dreams and my wants and my desires and my hopes. We will go into that a little bit more detail as we go through the book. That's how I created a future self when I had no future. I was told I was dying of cancer for years, not once. I didn't get it. No, I was told for years. I had 7 deep melanoma surgeries. And every time he said, it'll come back even worse. I said, no, it won't. We will talk about how to make a future self when you have no future as we go through this book. That's an important part of this book.
Thank you.
That's a real important part of this book. And this is just the beginning, this chapter. But that's an important question because I walked that path. Because I'd read this and he said, love your future self. And I was like, I got no future. I've got no money. I've got no job. I've got no chance of it. I'm an active cancer patient. You know, can you imagine going in for a job and it says, and your medical history? Oh, I'm an active cancer patient. I get surgery about every other year. He goes, yeah, we watch you. And then Dr. Joe taught me how to do this. That is why I'm here, because this is life and death for some people. And I'm doing my very best to get you to understand this is doable. But it takes practice, takes knowledge, takes practice. No, you can learn this stuff, but your body doesn't learn it by you learning it. The body learns it by you practicing it. And you practicing it by sitting in this chair every morning, and you do it again and again and again against your own survival mind. That survival mind will eventually give in. For me, it took 9 months to a year, depending on where you say I started, to give up my survival mind. And I mean, I was at it daily, a couple times a day. I was serious at it. So, yeah, and Botec 3 was the tool I used to do it. Thank you. That's exactly right. I didn't have the money to buy the other meditations. I, I busted my budget to buy the few meditations that I did. And Botec 3 was the one I did again and again and again and again for months. Okay, we kind of went off on that. Okay, iPhone, you got something before I go on?
Yeah, hi Ray. I just wanted to make sure I understood. There was really incredible session there. Going back to that dedicated mother that was talking, and you were saying, and I'm trying to understand the concept that we don't chase the joy state, we do the work. I imagine what you're saying is the amount of time that we are being present, that we're being certain, that we're believing, and we just keep focusing on what percentage we are there, and we let any amount of joy come from being in that state, being in that, yeah,
It's simpler
in
than
those
that.
states. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
simpler than that. Let me ask you the simple question. You know what joy and happiness is? Now, let me ask you a question. What do you do in your life? What is your life expression that brings you joy and happiness?
Yeah. I mean, I have
Answer the
certain,
question.
yeah,
You have times when you're happy and full of joy.
yeah.
What do you do to get that?
I have certain degrees of joy when I'm mountain biking, when I'm, with friends, etc. And then I have different type of experience of joy when meditating.
Okay,
Um,
let's talk
yeah,
about that. It's not the biking that gives you joy. What in the biking gives you joy?
for sure. When it's flow state, when I'm just connected
There.
to the trail. Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the target. Find a way to do that, whether it's biking, running, athletics, uh, drilling your martial arts, art.
Yeah.
That is what gives you the joy. If you focus on joy, all you're doing is hypnotizing yourself and getting a chemical rush. When you do flow, whatever it is, your body loves it. That was the answer right there.
When you talk about these states or these understandings that you're an energy body, it's obvious that this triggers an incredible joy state in you.
Yes.
And it's wonderful to witness. I would love, I mean, I work to develop that kind of certainty in my dreams, it feels like. But is in that particular state, it's just a knowledge that puts you into a joy state or puts you into a flow state that creates joy. How would you compare that instant ability to feel that level of love when you recognize a
Well, you
statement of it?
started correct. First, it's knowledge. I had to learn through a history of my studying that I am not just a biological being where, like a candle, when I die, my candle goes out. If you watch most modern science, they want to teach you that. If you go to modern pharmaceuticals, you are just a machine. You take one chemical and your machine does one thing. You take another chemical, and that's as far as the health goes of modern medicine. But I've got enough experience in my life to know I am not that. There's something else going on, and I am. And then when you start thinking about the ramifications and the meaning of Einstein's E equals mc squared, and you go, wait a minute, everything is energy, and it's only separated by frequency. Isn't that what Dr. Joe says?
Yeah.
Everything, then I am energy. I am this being of flesh is an illusion to what I am. Now, I know I've got a program in me that helps me survive. That is not I am. I had to learn I am an energy being. What does that mean? First of all, it goes back to ancient Hebrew scripture. Moses said, I am that I am. And he claimed his divine energy and he lived it. Guess what? That applies to you and me. There's no difference between what Moses said and what you can say. He just got tuned in. If human beings have any superpower, I say it's their gift of tuning. If everything is frequency, then what we can do is tune to a particular frequency. When you get into that idea, you are an energy being of a particular broadband, multi-level dimensional frequency, but it's all frequency. Practice tuning. In this meditation, Botek, he tells you to tune into the field, feel, Feel. That is tuning into the field of energy about you, to the space about you. When you start realizing he means exactly that, you start exploring, well, if I'm an energy consciousness and Ray says my superpower is tuning, let's see if I can do it. If you ever find it, ha, your life will change.
That is incredible. I know we're spending so much time. Maybe you could just have one quick clarification when we're here. Sometimes when I'm doing the heart meditation, I feel this like a little bit of that Kundalini energy rising and hitting the heart with this intense energy, and then the mind starts to say, "Oh my God, you're having this experience." And the minute it starts to say you're having this experience, it just quelches it like a
Yes.
cup over a candle. And I keep being at it feels like like at this point with my mind, like I'm starting, like it's gonna happen. Stop it! Don't claim this. Don't be a part of this. And yet it's got the
As soon
momentum
as
is
you get,
almost trained. Yeah,
exactly, as soon as you think that, you step out of flow.
yeah.
Flow has no self-examination. I
Do
used to be a
you?
runner.
Yeah.
I used to run a little bit. Uh, I was up where I could jog a trail for about 8 to 10 miles. Not I wasn't a sprinter or runner or win any races. I was just out there doing. And the first year I did it, man, I thought I was going to die of a heart attack. But I got this stubborn attitude at the time. And then all of a sudden, I crossed a threshold in my conditioning, and I'd be going down this trail by this lake in Dallas, and I'd feel like I was riding the run. I totally became unconscious to what my body was doing. I quit being aware of self. That ends it. When you tune in and your survival mind says, look at yourself, boom, it's over.
Do you have any tips, or did you overcome, like in the meditation, it feels at this point like a neural network is trained. The minute the heart starts to pop, the brain goes, oh my gosh, I'm having this experience. And I'm like, I know it. I know it's going to do it. And yet it still runs on its own type feeling, like these habits that we're talking about breaking. And yet it feels like this particular habit is tuned into exactly when I start to have this next level experience in the meditations.
The only word that I know that fits this discussion is familiar. When it becomes familiar enough, you do it, you do it, you do it, do it, and you get tired of interrupting it. You'll be
Okay.
so familiar with it that when that interruption even begins, you just get, leave me alone, and you just continue.
Okay.
Just like an athlete working to get in flow. He has
Okay.
interruptions, but when it comes up, you say, "No, I'm doing this," and he just loves the state of flow enough that he puts guards on and he don't let those interruptions come. Why? Because he is so familiar. They're not surprises. He knows exactly. Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that one. Go away.
To just reset and go back to what you're doing before over and
Yeah.
over again.
If
Okay.
it's not familiar, it's an alert, and your survival has to check it out.
Yeah.
That's how come nobody that is new to a skill has flow, because the mind hasn't learned it and the body hasn't learned it.
Yeah.
But when it gets familiar in body and mind, then you just give it permission and away you go.
Amazing. Thank you. I know we've let you get to, I think, the first page of your lecture or your lesson, so I'll let you get back to it. But thank you for that.
Those are important conversations for this chapter. It's a thinking to doing to being. And but that's the process. These were all important points. Okay. So I'm talking about the limbic brain, and I'll move along here pretty good. Experience, remember, thinking is for the body, for the mind. Knowledge is for the mind, and experience is for the body. And that is a pair that you're going to tie together in this work. If knowledge is for the mind and experience is for the body, then when you apply knowledge and create a new experience, you teach the body what the mind has intellectually learned. Knowledge without experience, you got to put a mark next to this on chapter 120 on page 129 in the middle of the page. This is critical. This is an important statement. Knowledge without experience is philosophy. If you read this book and you can quote me paragraphs on it, and you are not sitting down in your meditation, then all you've got is a philosophy. You got me? Experience without knowledge is ignorance. If you think you can do some magic right, light a candle, burn incense, and think some kind of magical thing will do the right, exactly correct, do the ritual perfect. That's ignorant to the top level. The ritual has no power of itself. There's a progression that has to take place. You have to take knowledge and live it. Do you remember my talking about the common experience we can't consciously remember, like a phone number, and then you start moving your fingers? Oh yeah, there it is. The body has a memory. When you reach this level of ability, you have moved into a state of being. In the process, you've activated the third brain area that plays a major role in changing your life, the cerebellum, seat of the subconscious mind. That is the brain of the subconscious. The cortex is the brain of your conscious. It's very dense. The cerebellum is the site of non-declarative memories, meaning you can't say what it knows. It knows a lot. It is your body memory. It is all this information and habits and knowledge that your body holds. It's non-declarative because you don't have that information up here. That knowledge is not part of your academic education. Let's use a true to life example to take a practical look at how these three brains take us from thinking to doing to being. First, we'll see how through conscious mental rehearsal, thinking brain uses knowledge to activate the circuits. Uses knowledge. Something you had an experience through your senses was received and it gave a memory. That's knowledge. Knowledge isn't necessarily an academic thing. It's an experience that gave you a thought, a memory. Then your thought creates an experience. When all the neurons connect, that thought puts it together as an experience, and that experience gives you chemistry. And finally, we reach the point where the mind body are working as one. The cerebellum enables us to memorize new neurochemical sets. Pretty soon, we know that if we think this, the body will do that. That is the brain, cerebellum working together to give you health. Page 132. This is the word that I had hardest time with. Months of seeing this word. And I had days when I'd come across this word and turn the page. I was a hard nut to crack. I would not even think the word surrender. Would not allow it in my vocabulary. Page 132. Instead, by surrendering old thought patterns, interrupting habitual emotional reactions, and foregoing knee-jerk behaviors, then planning and rehearsing new ways of being, you are putting yourself into the equation of that knowledge you learn and beginning to create a new mind. You are reminding yourself who you want to be. I don't care how that word surrendering was used. I didn't think it. I didn't do it. And I didn't get healed for a whole year, even though I was doing everything else as on spot knowledge driving. I would get to that place in my meditation and go, no. Yeah, I know how hard it is. I had a death threat of cancer and I couldn't let go. I had to finally give up my fortress. On the other side of surrender is another word that we're not going to address here tonight, but I'll mention it because they go together. Surrender is followed by worthiness. Let me tell you why they go together. Surrender gives up your fortress and opens your door to your heart. Worthiness is you allowing the receiving ship. If you open your door and say, I am not worthy, the angels on the other side will say, okay. Because you just told them you don't want to receive it. You don't want to receive any blessings, any energies, any gifts. You said you're not worthy. You said it. Those two words go together. Now, you may have different expressions for who you are and what you do. They're not magic words, but the ideas are real. Surrender is let go of your survival mind. Just lay it out there, and if they want to take your life, if the kingdom wants you, take me. I'm done with the fight. Total surrender of the ego survival. And your next step is to say, and I receive. I am worthy. I recognize I am a child of the divine. I am worthy, not because of any way I lived, not because of anything of this life. Believe me, if I was judged by how I lived, you wouldn't be talking to me. I am worthy because I am a child of the divine. I am a point of energy, a spark of the divine. That is why you are worthy. That is why it's important that you know what you are. You cannot know who you are until you know what you are. When you understand you truly, truly are a point of expression of the divine, and that this is just a life expression for this moment in time. Then when you tune in, you're not tuning in as an alien. You are a son coming home. Get it? That's what Dr. Joe said. That's what Einstein said, for God's sakes. You are energy. What frequency do you want to flow in? Instead, by surrendering old thoughts and patterns, interrupting habitual emotion reactions, and foregoing knee-jerk reaction, then planning and rehearsing new ways of being, you're putting yourself into the equation. That's it, said in a little bit more complicated way. What happens as you begin to observe your old personality? You see it until you see it as hiding on you. You will become the observer. It is not you now because you see it over there. Oh, that's my old life. What a mess that was. I messed that day up. And when you see it, you are not it. You are being the observer. Think of that. The guilt that you were holding on to because of that bad day 40 years ago is not you sitting here now observing that day. You are holding on to a tie. Just let it go. Just let it go and change your state of being that fast. Acknowledge Einstein was right. E equals MC squared. You are mass at a certain frequency of energy. You are energy at a certain frequency. I was thinking M equals, well, anyway, you know what I meant. I got a mark on page 134. Once you begin to feel the emotions of compassion, in a sense, you chemically instruct your body what your mind philosophically knew that activated, modified some of your genes. That's what it was. One of the biggest shocking ideas I got with Dr. Joe's work is that as I change my mind and change my chemistry, I am changing my genetic expression. Did you know that? Your genes are not a fixed expression. They are like a limited general processor. They have certain things that they can do, but that's not, it's a big menu and they work in unison with others. And they test people and in the meditation, they change 1,400 genetic expressions in a 1 hour meditation. This is life and death. But you can reproduce that feeling of compassion at will. But can you? Can you repeatedly embody compassion independent of conditions in your environment so that no person or situation could ever create that old state in you? Could I learn how to be a peaceful man when I've got 40 years of warring inside my mind? Could I learn something like that? My definition of mastery is that Our internal chemical state is greater than anything in our external world. The answer is you can do that. If this crazy Army veteran can do it, by God, you can too. In the preceding example with your mother-in-law, he talked about mother-in-laws coming in and, the movies were, oh no, the mother-in-law, you know, the state of being. He had to think about it, do it, and it changed his being. So now you need to replicate this experience of thinking, feeling, and doing out of compassion. You just do it. You practice it. You get new knowledge. Don't go to your old education because you'll get the old results. Where are you getting new knowledge? For me, it was Dr. Joe. He gave me a point of view that I hadn't gotten in all my crazy studies. That's why I told you that ahead of the recording. I had new knowledge. I made new choices. I had new chemistry, and I created a new life. When compassion becomes unconditional, ordinary, and familiar, remember that word I used, familiar? You have progressed from knowledge to experience to wisdom. That's it. When it becomes familiar, the survival mind shuts up. Why? Because it's familiar. Survival mind jumps because we're doing something that's not familiar and not enough repetition for your body to say, okay, this is normal. I'll use that word familiar all the way through this book. Page one, I think that's a 139, 38. Wisdom is. There's so much talk about what wisdom is and stuff like this. And there's a lot of ways of saying it. This is how Dr. Joe says it. Wisdom is accumulated knowledge that has been gained through repeated experience. And experience applied is the expression of wisdom. That's why I sound different from most people you'll talk about Dr. Joe's work. I am not talking from the book. I use the book to carry the conversation. I'm talking by what that statement just said. Experience applied is wisdom. Wisdom is gained by knowledge and applied to get experience. And you reverse it. Experience applied is wisdom. That's why I talk differently. You with me? We can create a new state of being ahead of having an actual material experience. Now, that used to be a real head job. I'm supposed to sit here by myself with my headphones on and create an experience I've never had before. Just make something up. But I already learned enough to know anything I made up, I use my memory as building blocks to get it. And if I did that, then all it is an old memory that's taken another form. How do I get truly new experience? That was part of the question that I think Leon gave me. I haven't had the experience. How do I get it? How do I get a new one? How far can you take this? Through thinking and feeling alone, can you finally be the person you want to be? Can you create and live a chosen reality as my daughter did with her vacation? That was Dr. Joe talking. In this book, you will learn a special meditation designed for a specific purpose to help you overcome the habit of being yourself and become that ideal self you desire. You start finding the love of your future self by finding your calling in life. And you go, you look at me? Have you met me? Yeah, I have no calling in my life. The only calling in my life is my death sentence. And I'm supposed to get a life call. I had to start at zero. Trust me, there was nothing left for me. No job, no money, no future chance of getting a job. My head was so turned off I could hardly read a book, never mind get educated. And I'm supposed to find a future in that. We'll talk about that. Meditation allows us to change our brains, bodies, and the state of being. That was a surprise to me when I first started this work, because I've been meditating and it's never changed my body at all. I didn't know what Dr. Joe teaches. I'm now asking you to reflect on what it would feel like to be happy. What would you envision for yourself if you were to create a new ideal you? For my future self was to live another month or two. I'm telling you that those doctors said this could flare up and I'll be dead in months. And I got that message from my MD for years. Yeah, I've got an attitude about doctors. I actually have a book called Lies My Doctor Tells Me. Kidding. It's right over here. That's the name of the book. Lies My Doctor Tells Me. And it's real. I've read the book a few times and it's like, yeah, doctors do say this. And they're flat out lying to you when they do. They don't study health. They say they do. They don't. They are very good at fixing things that are sick and broken. They are clueless when it comes to telling you how to be healthy. And they're lying when they give you health advice. By repeatedly producing that same state of mind, it will become familiar to you. There's that word again. You rehearse the state of mind, that new state, as you're developing that future self. You rehearse it until that state of mind becomes a familiar memory in your experience of your cortex. And as you rehearse it, it is releasing chemicals into your body. And those chemicals eventually, not right away, eventually will become familiar to your survival mind. And your survival mind will quit challenging that new feeling. That new feeling will eventually start giving you permission to act, to do. I always thought it was really funny in me when I would want to do something and my body would tell me no. Anybody else have that crazy thing? Okay, I think I'll do art today. No. What do you mean? I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna go out in my wood shop and make something. Not just not just work, but make something. No, you can't do that. What? What do you mean? Who am I? I'm telling me no. Like, what is that? I used to think I was crazy. It was a program in me that says no. That was quite a challenge for me. Yeah, that's exactly right. False beliefs that I had programmed into me through my life. And I was not, I was, that would step me out of my place. And I'm not allowed to get out of that line. So I did, and I did, and I did until it became familiar. And I don't get no's in that anymore. Familiar. Don't think you're crazy when you get that. Just tell yourself, okay, this is not familiar to my survival mind. I'll teach it. You with me? I used to think I was out of my mind when I got that. And I did this work and talked to enough people. Says, no, this is just a human experience. And what she said, it's just a false belief someone I picked up, the program I picked up, something people taught me along my life. My line in this life says I don't do that. I can't get out of that line. Yeah, I can. Why? But it takes practice and it takes making something unfamiliar familiar. And then you can. At that point, you've moved into the state of being. You're no longer just practicing happiness, you're being happy. That's it. Pushing against that familiar until it's familiar. And then you do it some more, and it becomes just your new way of being. And your survival mind, which isn't the enemy, it's been taught what it is. Your survival mind knows that that's okay now. You have broken the habit of being yourself. A new state of being creates a new personality. And this was a surprise to me. And as you change your personality, You are actually empowering yourself into a new personal reality. Your world about you starts changing. It really, really does. It's hard to imagine how my personality put me in this chair talking to you people tonight. What it took, what my reality took, what my personality had to change to get me here. For me to talk about loving each other. It started with me learning, pushing against my familiar. Remember, the quantum model tells us that if you have created a new mind and a new state of being, you have an altered electromagnetic signature. Your aura, as some people call it, has changed. You did it. Somebody didn't, with a robe and a funny hat, did come in and sprinkle holy oil on you. You did it. You did the work. You did the knowledge. You did the practice. You did the work, and you have changed your electromagnetic field and your personality and that electromagnetic field. What have we learned about magnets? You draw to you who you are. You have changed who you are, so your life will draw to you new things. That's science. This isn't even mystical woo woo. This is science stuff. Thoughts and feelings can do this. Separately, they cannot. Let me remind you again, you cannot think one way and feel another and expect anything in your life to change. You have to think it and practice it until your body comes aligned with your thinking. If your body isn't stressed out because it's your body still carries fear and you're trying to think happy thoughts, you're not going to get very far. You've got to practice it until that new thought becomes familiar in your being and that old stuff you have let go of. That is the equation. That is the human experience. Here's where coherent signals really come into play. If you can send into the quantum field a signal coherent in thought and feeling, then something different will show up in your life. That's science. When it does, you'll no doubt experience a powerful emotional release, which will inspire you to create a new way. When it does, you'll feel it, and that little child in you will go, "Congratulations, you did it," and you will be emotionally moved. I just remember mine and I get emotionally moved. When something good happens to us, we express gratitude or joy. So we go through life waiting for someone or something outside of us to regulate our feelings. How many of us was in an environment where we went to an organization where we were told to wait for our deliverance, something outside of us to impact us, to heal us, to feel us, to make us feel loved? I put a word here. It says religion. Religion is a deity outside of you that you go to and you give your finances to, and you wait for the deity to deliver you. The gate is here, not through that doorway. The gate is here. To do this, you can pick a potential in the quantum field and get in touch with how it would feel if you were experiencing it. Not you want the feeling, you get the potential and how would it feel if I had that, if I did that, if I was that. This is where your first desire begins when you have nothing to begin with. You go through and you wonder, WONWAN. I'm wandering around my mind, wondering what would I want to be if I could be something? What would give me joy and happiness? It was my experience and a few others that I've talked to that when you first tune into that field, you get kind of like a catalog. And you, I don't know, what do I want? Then it's like a tease. One of them will come up, what about this one? and your heart will leap. You have found the being that resonates with who your heart wants to be. You won't miss it. That was my experience. When I don't know what I want. I got nothing. I have no chance. I have no hope. I have no direction. I have no money. I have a wife that loves me, but that's it. And I'm doing this, and my mind is running, and I'm going this. Everything's, and then all of a sudden, I get this word, just a word, not even a full idea, just a word. And my heart, I thought I was going to bust. Yes, that's the word. That's the one I want. And I wrote it on the whiteboard, and we'll go into more of that. First, you find your desire. Then you find your purpose. And through purpose, you find your daily goals. That's the process. To fully break the habit of being yourself, say goodbye to cause and effect and embrace the quantum model. When you get this right, you are the electromagnetic field. You are tuning in, just like a tuning fork. When you are the tuning fork and there's a resonant here, you absorb the frequency of that energy and it draws to you. You are not the energy creator. You are the tuner. And you absorb the energy that you tune to. In that now moment, the present and present in that experience, that's when you are connected to all possible realities. What a bold thing to say. That is when you get in that present moment, you are connected to all possible realities. I remember reading that in the first year or two and looking at that is the most bold statement. How is that even conceivable? When you learn that you are a tuning fork and you are that, and the field of infinite field of frequencies are here, you are now tuning to all possible realities. And when you sit your tuning fork, this is my desire, you start absorbing the frequency of that desire, and it becomes a bright purpose in your mind. That is physics in the cosmic level, in the consciousness level. The only way to access the quantum field is by being in the now, the present moment. If you're still holding on to the past, you're missing it. If you're still dreaming of the future based on the past, envy, strife, survival, you're missing it. Keep in mind that this cannot just be an intellectual process. Thoughts and feelings must be coherent. If it's here and your body's worrying about something else, you're not coherent and you're not going to make it. It won't work. This meditation requires that you drop down about 10 inches out of your head and move into your heart. Open your heart and think about how it would feel if you embodied a combination of all the traits that you admire and that make up your ideal self. This is the fourth center in action. We live most of our life with a default action of your heart center. It's just a pump. We're told that from the time we're in first science class in middle school. The heart's a pump. Nobody tells you about these energy centers. Nobody tells you that life starts in the heart. There's a reason for that. That is your magnetic center. That is your tuning fork. But your tuner is out of tune if your mind and your heart are not lined up. I'm almost done with the chapter. Ahead of your senses, if a future desire that you've never experienced actually does manifest in your life, you have to agree that you would experience an elevated emotion of such joy. Yeah. So many stories I could say, and it sound by the time I was done, you'd think I was just bragging. Perhaps you've wondered why it may be hard to move into that state of gratitude or give thanks ahead of the actual experience. You ever wonder, just why is the human experience built that way? Here's one that I think of regularly. You put your hand on a hot stove, and the body, you don't have to tell your hand to move. It goes, "Ah, that hurts." You do something that's pain, you go, I don't want to do that again. The mental pain of depression, you know how you tell somebody is in depression? Because they are constantly doing self-depressing things. Isn't that the oddest thing? Once somebody moves into a state of darkness, everything, their whole life expression perpetuates that darkness and depression. And for them to get out of it once they're caught by it is just brutal fight against their survival habit mind. They test everything chronically, trying to convince their mind that it's safe to come out of that darkness. Just the opposite of that connection. I think that is really odd to the human experience. It is possible that you've been living by a memorized emotion that has become so much a part of you, your identity on the subconscious level, that now you cannot feel any other way than you're accustomed to. That was my story. I had been an angry, ritualized veteran for 40 years. I couldn't even imagine not being that. I wasn't looking for another life. Remember the story about why people change? Trauma? I got trauma. I got knocked off my high horse. Mr. Tough Guy was being led around in a grocery store by his wife by the arm because I couldn't think my way out of nothing. I was living a memorized emotion of trauma in my early life, and I had no idea how to let go of it. This story in chapter 6 gave me the key to let go of it. That one statement about the heart. Open your heart and think about how would it feel if you could embody a combination of all the things that you want. And it was like, you mean I can think my way out of this? I don't need to spend a year paying a fortune to some psychobabbler giving me drug suppressants. I can think my way out. I can choose my way out of this. Yeah. Yes. What you choose is then subject to the next few chapters. How you choose and what you choose and the process of choosing to help you fight against that survival mind is what we'll talk about in the next few chapters. You never heard me say it was easy, did you? I had some funny instances along the journey, but I would sit in this chair and just shed tears. It won't stop. It won't stop. Make it stop. And then it did. I learned that terrible, scary word, surrender. And out of nowhere, I learned worthiness. Someone with a dark life like I had was still found worthy. You too, people. The key, the doorway, the first doorway is surrender. I didn't say it was easy. In fact, I'm telling you, it was hard as hell for me. Ah, but that's the doorway. You do it through repetition, You do it through release, release, release until there is nothing left to let go of. Not everybody's going to have a dramatic experience. Some people will just let go and go on. I hope so. I would like to think so. I hope everybody's not as crazy as I was. But there are some who's had some real trauma in their life, and they've been fighting survival ever since. They're going to have a little struggle to convince that survival mind that they're safe now because they have rehearsed that survival 1,000 times through their life, figuratively speaking, of course. And now they've got to teach it. They're safe now. Is it possible that you've been living in a memorized emotion? That's the last statement to this chapter. Anybody want to talk anymore? That was either a really good talk or one that quieted everybody else, or everybody just bored and hung up their mics. Hello, Leon.
I just want to say thank you for delivering the information that you have today. It's been really helpful and insightful. And, one of the problems I have is a lot of things that you've mentioned, that because of everything that you've mentioned, it's difficult to sit through a book and read it page by page. But by having someone with me or with you, or just having someone, you know, there allows me to really understand what Joe talks about. Whether he came up with it himself or got it from somewhere else. It's easy to go through and pull in good things when there are other people around you that want the same thing.
Yes, yes, community helps. I had no community for 2 years. I did it by just gut. I wanted it. I want it. You'll hear me say numerous times as we go through this year, how bad do you want it? If everybody says no to you, are you still going to push through and do this work? I said yes. And that's what I did. I had nobody to talk to. I still have, well, now I do. I've got Dallas, I found a community around Dallas that I can talk to. But for the first few years, I had no one that I could talk to. The people around me are fundamental Christians, and talk about meditation to them, they start giving me the, you know, like back off, Satan, you know. So yeah, you got to decide it. How bad you want. I want this. I see the promise. Now do the work. That was an expression I said. You'll see it. And in fact, my testimony that's on YouTube, I've titled it "The Work and the Promise." Because I read this book and I saw the promise. It's like, but the condition was the work. Can I do the work unconditionally until I get it, till I get the promise, and I break through and I'm free to do work voluntarily? How bad do you want it? I wanted it. I don't care if it would have taken. I'd sit down. I don't care. Take me 5 years. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to pound on heaven's gates. I got it in 1 year. How bad do you want it? I'd look at my wife with her hopeful eyes that I would survive this killer cancer. Yeah, talking about something that motivated me. I was not about to give up on those eyes. How bad do you want it? You want it even when it's not familiar, even when your survival goes, "What are you doing? This don't work. This is stupid. I don't know anything about this. This is just woo woo." I'm telling you, nothing at this level that Dr. Joe does is woo-woo. I qualified it because once you get familiar and you're on the other side of that gate, then it gets pretty strange and things are different. But at this level, this is just human work. You go for it, Leon. Just do the work and you'll get the promise. But do the work unconditionally. You're going to do the work until it shows up. Now, Natalia.
Hey Ray, yeah, name is Natalia.
Natalia.
And
Oh, what a
yes,
beautiful way of saying it. My
oh,
my
thank
my
you.
American tongue doesn't say that too easily. Natalia, that's beautiful.
No, you sounded it right. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much for everything you're doing for yourself, for the community, and for the love that you're sharing with all of us. You're an inspiration, no doubt about it. And I love that you're full of knowledge and you get this material down to the knee. I've been working with Dr. Joe since early 2020, and 6 years in the making. And until now, I'm starting to see the progress in my life. And this is, I have done a breaking the habit of be yourself for like about 4 times. So I'm planning to do start all over again, another set for 4 weeks. Sometimes next month. But it's an intense work. It's a hard work, and I love the part that you said because that I tell that to myself every day. If it will be easier, everybody will be doing this work. So again, Ray, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you for being a great inspiration for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. That was my paycheck. That's why I do it, to hear things like that. I just got my heart just got its paycheck. Yeah. You will never hear me say this is easy. I will say it's easy for some. Well, and everybody's seen that. A child walks up to a piano and he starts playing beautiful music. I don't know why it's easy for him or for others. Just it's incredibly hard. Um, yeah. So, but for me, it was a challenge to overcome my survival mind. Very, very strong challenge. Remember, your survival mind is a program. That's all. It is a program designed to keep you safe because of something shouted at it saying this is not safe and it's trying to keep you safe. Approach it like that, and you're no longer hating yourself, anger itself, calling yourself names. Those are all things I did. It is simply a program, and our task now is to reprogram it. That's it. The programming of the cortex happens a lot faster. You can have good information and go, oh, I received that. I accept that. And boom, it's there. Your body doesn't cooperate that way. The body works a repetition. That's simply how it works. So you have to train it past its unfamiliar alert. I'm not used to this. I can't do this. Oh, shut up. We're doing this now. And then it does it. You may never be a triathlon winner, an Ironman contestant, uh, a 26-mile runner, but you can get out there and you can jog and exercise and move into flow if you do the work. You're an artist and everything is work, trying to do work, artist. You can get there, release all those voices that say no, and practice until you go into flow. You can do it. It's just work. It's just passing through that familiarity to set aside the survival mind that tells you no. That's it. It was big to me to learn not to condemn me. Big. And all I can think of is that, Ray, you're not the only one that has that. And so I make a point of saying it. I don't expect you to follow my footprints in the sand. I tell you my story not to convince you to do it my way. I tell you my story to give you principles for you to work within, the framework of possibilities for your life. You with me? Many of you are just sweet, loving spirits that had a hard life. You know, the idea that you the thought that I'm suggesting that you deal with your life like I dealt with my nightmares. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in my story is principles of the work, crossing that barrier of unfamiliar until it's familiar. Getting the understanding that you need new knowledge. If you keep choosing the old knowledge, I don't care if it's a different item on the menu, it all comes out, tastes the same. You need new knowledge to drive in a new experience, and you can change your genetic expression. For real, that's science. The name of that science is called epigenetics. Look it up. Epigenetics. It's solid science. You can change your own genetic expression now. You think you're that way because of your genes? Fine. Change your genes expression. It's now possible. We're going to talk about that for the rest of this year. All right, I'm closing the book. Talk to me, or I'm saying good night. Remember, the main takeaway for tonight is it's mind, heart, coherence. If your heart is still chasing, hanging onto your past, you can wish and want all day long, and you're not coherent. You have got to practice these wishings and wants until your body aligns with that experience. Then your life will start changing. I hope you get that. That was the key that none of my other studies gave me when I went through that little litany of things I did. That was what no one told me. That's the key. When you learn and practice your mind body connection, your life will change. Leon, thank you for raising your hand. Go
I
ahead.
was I was waiting for someone else to talk because I don't want to talk at the time. But I heard you say that you explored a lot of different things in your recent life about all the esoteric stuff, which I have as well, trying to find some answers. And I guess, when one person studies and looks at multiple materials and teaches, um, they don't always look at one, they look at many. Wh what made you stop here at Joe's material and not keep on looking at something else? Especially when you said that it took a few months to see the results.
Because I read the book and I could see the promise. And the promise kept saying, you do the work, you get the promise. And I could see it. It made sense to me. It was the one piece no one ever said. I don't care if it was the simple studies of the secret or hypnosis or silver mind control. None of them told me about mind heart coherence. None of them told me about surrendering my past. Gateway said if you got troubles in your mind, shove it in the box.
Yeah, the box thing, I did that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd that work for you?
It
Every
was
time you were
interesting.
done, you opened the box and all that stuff came back at you.
Yeah, well, she's still there. It just comes back. Yeah.
See, there's
It's like, hey, it's
nothing
like,
was
where did I
changed.
put that box? I actually go looking for the box again.
Yeah, that's what I mean. At the end of the day, nothing's changed. You had a cool experience. I had lots of really cool experiences, but at the end of the day, I was the same. That's what I was after. And this chapter told me this is how I can change. This is the missing piece. And this chapter is the chapter that I set my mind and dedicate myself to mastering Dr. Joe's work because I could see the promise when I read this chapter. Everything else is just the work.
I suppose because I'm overwhelmed like you were back then, and he's got so much material, and I don't know why he's got so many books and so many meditations. How did was this the first and only book that you picked up, and that was it, or did you have to go through a lot of his stuff until you found the right
The
words?
first 2 years, the only money I had bought what I bought that first 6 months, and I squeezed to buy them. I bought Breaking the Habit, and I bought You Are the Placebo, and I bought a few meditations that went with those two books. That was it. That was all I spent for almost 2 years. The magic is in, for me, was in Blessing of the Energy Centers 3. The power, the magic, the learning to tune to the field, the learning that I am the observer, not the observed. All the secrets that can be dissected out of that meditation are vast.
Yeah,
That's all of mine. We didn't have the money. I don't want to go into mealy mouth poor me stuff, but back then money was money was a real challenge. That's where I started.
thank you.
And I had a death threat. Thank you, Leon. I hope I see you again next week. Sonia, I see your hand.
Hey Ray, um, what does that look like, surrendering the past? What does that mean exactly?
You have an offense. Somebody offended you, seriously, and you want justice. And the life says there's no justice for you. You want justice. I mean, you grit your teeth. I want to get even with him, and I can't do anything about it. And I want justice. Of course, I'm talking about me. I know you would never do that. What does it look like? It looks like I am giving away the balance scale of justice. That's what it feels like. I am give. I want justice. I'm letting the scale of justice go. That's what it looks like. And I am
Okay,
left unsatisfied.
okay, uh,
Sometimes I was the guilty party. I self-accused myself terribly. Well, anybody who's messed up mind that I had, of course I screwed up some. Of course I did. And I had to forgive me. I had to look in the mirror and go, Ray, this one's on you. And all I could say is I couldn't make it stop. I just couldn't make it stop. But you did it, Ray. You did this to yourself. And then I had to let go of the pain on myself, my own self-accusation.
okay.
That was
Hmm.
hard too.
Your own self-actuation.
Act, accusing myself, right? You are a
Oh,
terrible person. Look at these people you hurt. You
okay,
did this. You couldn't control your own self, and look what you did. You hurt these people. I
okay,
did. I was I was messed up.
okay. All right, and I have one more question. You and I've talked, it was a long time ago that I gave you a little bit of information about myself that I have amnesia of the first 19 years of my life. It's been a long time since we talked. And I had PTSD, awful, awful. I mean, throwing myself out of bed, having bruises, just lights on in every room, wearing contacts 24/7, just tons of stuff. But now, because of Dr. Joe, I don't have PTSD, but I do have one lingering thing that's there, and it's the fast heart rate. It's like what's it? I think I read something in the book saying memorized emotion or something. I still have that a little bit on occasion. How did you have to work to get rid of that separately?
I did what I call child work because that's what it looked like to me. I was never trained in it. I didn't take any classes in it. But as I forgave myself, going back through time, I found that once my adulthood was pretty well resolved, I still had the core of anger and pain inside me. Like, where did this come from? I didn't even know where it came from. I didn't know myself. So I started just meditating on myself, being metacognitive. Who am I? What is this pain in me? And I found myself looking at myself as a child, 5, 6 years old, sitting on the floor. My pain started at 5 years old. I was so much angry as a child. My vision of me was sitting on the floor with my arms folded, my eyes down, and said, "Don't look at me. Don't even talk to me. Or don't talk to me. Don't even look at me." That was my view of me when I presented myself to him as an adult, to my child spirit. I had to forgive and love that child until he had peace. You had a trauma of unimaginable horror, and you are still in pain because of it. I don't care whether you did it, someone else did it, or you were in the wrong place and the sky fell on you. Your goal is to get free, get empty hands. We're not looking for justice. We're not looking for karma. We're looking for a clean heart. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm not reasoning what's right and wrong. The goal is a clean heart. We'll let the kingdom solve the justice.
Okay.
Your goal is simply to forgive that pain unconditionally and give it over to the karma, to the kingdom of karma to resolve that justice.
Forgive the pain or forgive the people?
Not the people. Forgive the pain.
Mm,
The people be damned. Just like I'm talking to you about your heart.
okay.
Release your heart. Forgive this, whatever this is. Release it, release it, release it.
Okay.
The goal is a clean heart. That's it. I don't care if you did it, someone else did it, or you were in the wrong place and the sky fell on you and your life was ruined. The goal is to have an empty heart so that you can have peace. You are not your body. Your body has been traumatized. You are an eternal energy being. You have not been traumatized. Your body has been traumatized.
Oh,
Make that separation,
okay.
and it will be easier for you to have empty hands.
Okay.
I was a warrior in the army. I, as a consciousness, watched my body go through hell and survive. My body carried the bruises traumatically, and my body had to learn to release it. My consciousness is a divine expression. My body walked through hell. Separate them.
Okay. I haven't heard that. Or maybe
That's
I did.
part that's part of the lesson of what are you?
Okay. Okay. I'm
Our
getting it.
survival mind wants to say, this is you, this is you. You have to protect you. No, you don't. You are the consciousness, and as expressed in that meditation blessing of the energy center number 3.
Okay.
Your body is releasing pain it's holding for its survival. It's not a bad thing. It was built into us as its survival tool.
Right.
We just never learned how to let go of it.
Okay. Okay.
That's the
Wow.
goal. I
All
don't
right. Well,
care what
there was,
caused it. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I don't care what, who, or where, or how. The goal is a clean heart
okay.
and let karma fix the scale.
Okay. Well, and I want to say something to anybody that's who is working on doing this. I can honestly say that I had a dream of what normal was, and my life right now is way better than I ever dreamed. It is unfreaking amazing. Just unbelievable. I mean, I sleep in the dark. I don't have nightmares. I don't freak out or sweat or get real nervous if a man comes in the house. I mean, my life is way better than what I ever dreamed it could be. So just keep doing it.
When my wife met me, I would sleep in my apartment with my doors open, my windows open, because the idea of being closed in the room was a terror to me. I would actually leave my apartment doors open when I went to bed at night
Oh, wow.
because I could not stand the terror of being closed up.
And my neighbors, I've been in this house 11 years, and my neighbors all say I'm ready for Armageddon because I've got more security on this house than any house on the block. But now, I mean, even though it's nice to have it, it's not a need anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the fix. It is proper to take care of the body. That's proper. You have those energy centers telling you when you're in danger for a reason. They're not bad. We're supposed to take care of our body. And that taking care of the body is just not about having enemies about us. It's about the food we eat, the water we drink, and how we live. We're supposed to take care of this expression.
Right. Okay.
And
All
part of
right.
that is to let go.
Okay. Well, several aha moments. I know we're chatting. I should have been taking notes, and I know this part isn't recorded, but lots of aha moments. Thank you so much. And you know how
Thank you.
much I love you and what a wonderful bride you have. Congratulations on your anniversary. What, a week, couple weeks back?
Thank you. 50 years. It's even better than that. Get this. I was a runaway teenager on the beach when I was 15. I spent 3 years as a teenager, hungry, living on the beach, doing miscellaneous jobs. During the winters, I slept in a room in the YMCA, and I paid for that room by cooking hamburgers.
Oh, wow.
And then during the summer, I'd go to the beach, and I was a carnival operator as a teenager,
Wow.
and I slept wherever I could sleep. A lot of times, I had one bag of clothes. That was I had a duffel bag, and that was the summation of all my belongings. And that's how
Wow.
I spent my teenage years. I'm telling you that because during that time is when I met Eileen. When I first met her, she was 11 years old and I was 15. She was a friend of my teenage sweetheart, and she turned 12 and she came to my 16th birthday party that they threw for me at a picnic table on the beach because I did not have a home to have a party in.
Oh, wow.
That's where I
Wow.
started.
So you've been with her a lot longer than her. Your heart's been with her a lot longer than 50 years.
Oh yeah, since we were kids. Since we were kids. We were friends then. She was not my girlfriend. There's 4 years difference in age, but she was a friend
Yeah.
and we knew each other and we were
Yeah.
just she was part of the circle of teenagers, you know.
Well, that video of y'all dancing, that was, God, you just could, the love was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Just, you couldn't not watch that video and walk away in a
In
bad
my
mood.
first book, I wrote, it's on the market. People tell me they like it. 12 Meditations of Christmas. I dedicated the book to her. I said, my love, my lady, my bride, my heart's home.
No,
How'd you like to have a man say that about you?
that's
And
pretty
publish it
amazing.
in the book for the world to see.
That's pretty amazing.
Okay.
You're
Yeah,
both blessed.
you got me bragging about my love with my lady.
Yep. That's a good
And she,
thing, though.
and she can cook.
Good. Even better.
Yeah. Okay. I'll think about whether I'll leave that in the recording or not. Okay.
All right.
Um,
Thank you.
thank you. And good night, folks. This was a good talk, very heartfelt. I hope you get the heart of this lesson. Good night.